It's been a hell of a career for my close, in real life personal best friend, gym buddy, tennis partner, style guru, and emotional spirit guide, The Rock. After a shaky start, the once and future Dwayne Johnson transcended the family wrestling business to be, well, the most famous man in the entire world. Now, knowing him as well as I do, if I offered him a time machine and the chance to change a single thing, he'd put one of those great, big hands on my shoulder and say, "Brother, this life has been a gift. I wouldn't change a damn thing. Now, how about a stack of pancakes?" But as I sat there chewing these angelic blueberry delights, my mind would both wander and wonder. What if the biggest moments of his career had gone differently, and what would that mean for both him and the industry he would ultimately define? Well, wiping the maple syrup from my mouth, let's go on a journey through time and space and protein, because my name is Adam Cleary and these are The Rock's 10 biggest what if moments. Number 10, what if he didn't get that initial push? Before Dwayne Johnson was The Rock, he was Rocky Maivia, a cheeky, squeaky clean babyface who was the recipient of a colossal push right from the very off. His WWE debut saw him get the win in a traditional Survivor Series match, and 3 months down the line, he was Intercontinental Champion. The fans, though, as they do, saw through the transparent attempts to make a new star on the quick, rained boos and death threats upon him, then he got injured, tweaked the character, and the rest was history. But if he hadn't debuted with such an objectionable character, he never would have received such vitriol from the fans. And without said vitriol, the eventual heel turn wouldn't have carried main event level heat. He'd have just sort of floated around the mid-card, smiling his way in and out of various feuds, hoping his natural charisma would eventually win people over. And it might have done, given how talented he is, but he definitely wouldn't have been WWF champion by 1998. Number 9, what if he hadn't turned heel? Heel Rock was incredible. He was charismatic, he was direct, he went after the crowd who dismissed him and told them with a vocal prowess never really seen before just what he thought of them. He might have debuted years prior, but the great one was born here. While it's incredibly easy to begin drawing the parallels with Roman Reigns, this was a different time. No longer held back from being a nice guy, Rock could say whatever he wanted, and very quickly, this persona became the company's hottest commodity. Thus, when he finally returned to being a face, he didn't really return to being a face. The savage put down, stealing yo girl, knowing your role, shutting your mouth, it doesn't matter what sexual organs Michael Cole has. None of this is babyface work, and yet, at the height of the Attitude Era, fans loved it. Without that heel turn, he would have had the same sort of career as, say, Al Snow. Number 8, what if he didn't have those catchphrases? Now, you go and open up any mainstream piece of press coverage on wrestling and you will see some variation of the word SmackDown in the headline. Every single one, and The Rock did that. The sheer off-the-cuff quotability of the man coined the name of WWE's second show and an industry byword that would define it for outsiders. That, and in an age where you got a t-shirt with a catchphrase on it whether you actually had a catchphrase or not, The Rock was putting out era-defining slogans on a weekly basis. Now, if, however, he'd opted to just let his in-ring work do the talking, it's unlikely WWE would have so relentlessly pushed him as the very face of the entire company. Only by briefly eclipsing Austin 316 says, and that's the bottom line as the go-to wrestling parlance for fans, did The Rock himself manage to eclipse Austin at the turn of the millennium. Without that, he would have been a big deal, but he would have still been the other guy. Number 7, what if he hadn't done the This Is Your Life segment? Now, don't get me wrong, wrestling was already good before The Rock came along, but it wasn't really funny. Comedy was there, yes, but it was a sideshow, a distraction, something immersion-breaking from the very serious nature of two big men in pants hitting each other hard. However, that changed when The Rock and Mick Foley worked the now legendary This Is Your Life segment. In a definite case of asking for forgiveness rather than permission, they took liberties with the time afforded to them. A backstage bollocking was apparently on the cards until Vince McMahon saw the ratings and his trousers fell down. It is still in the company's top 5 highest rated segments ever. From here, comedy segments on the WWE menu were elevated from aperitif to, actually, do you know, I might just get that as a main. The trial of Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon's lie detector test, Lita's tit falling out that time. Skipping the segment probably wouldn't have changed The Rock's career, but it would absolutely have altered how WWE wrote its shows. Number 6, what if him and Hogan hadn't done the double turn. The Icon vs. Icon match at WrestleMania X8 is no technical masterclass, but as far as wrestling spectacles go, it's one of the greatest of all time. That is down to The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and most important of all, a red-hot crowd who dictated the performances they wanted from the wrestlers. When The Rock realized the sheer adulation directed at his opponent, he thought on his feet and made Hogan, his literal hero, look like the Superman of old. But what if he just hadn't? Well, in truth, not a lot would have changed. I mean, both men had long since established their standing in the company, but I mean, what would wrestling be without this match? What would even be the point of any of it? Actually, do you know what? It's entirely possible that every single time WWE brings back an air quotes legend in the even bigger air quotes autumn of their career, they're secretly trying to recreate this exact moment, which, for such an amazing match, is not a good legacy. Number 5, what if he'd wrestled Shawn Michaels? HBK's 2002 return to WWE is one of the business's greatest comebacks because the guy had not lost a single step. One match that never happened though was the exciting proposition of Michaels vs. Rock, two standard bearers for the industry, two all-time greats, a dream match that apparently nobody in WWE could dream up. The plan allegedly was to have them work WrestleMania XX together, but because of some bad blood between Michaels and, of all people, The Rock's grandma, it never happened. If it had though, this would have been huge. Instead of being a make-weight in putting Evolution over, Rocky would have likely been bumped up to co-main event status. Given the undoubted critical praise that this would have garnered, WWE would have thrown money at him every single year to do it again, and in the process severely curtailed his Hollywood ambitions. A small change to his past, yes, but one that would likely have had major repercussions. Number 4, what if he wasn't so nice? Yeah, while we're on the subject of Shawn Michaels, for all he reformed in his later career, he was, it says here on my notes, a political nightmare at the height of his powers, but I think they just meant to say a colossal dick. Absolutely nobody liked him, and even fewer still liked to cross him. He felt himself above doing a job for a lot of his colleagues, but The Rock, despite being a bigger star, didn't. If our pal Dwayne had had Michael's attitude, he would never have put over an entire generation of talent during the latter part of his initial run. He made Chris Benoit look like a savage technician in a string of title matches, he dropped the belt to Kurt Angle during his stellar rookie year, and he allowed Brock Lesnar, who I'm pretty sure is about 9 years old in this picture, to throw him around like an empty tracksuit. Without these three all getting the Rocky rub, there is no telling what WWE's main event picture would have looked like after he left. Number 3, what if he wasn't really into working out? Okay, so do you know that thing that you love? That thing you really, really, really love? Well, you love that about 1/1,000,000th as much as The Rock loves lifting heavy things. Wrestlers never really retire, obviously, but when they let the full-time schedule go, they normally let themselves go with it. Not The Rock, though. He looked like this when he was at the height of being a pro wrestler, and this is what he looks like as just an actor. A side effect of this, of course, is that whenever WWE called on him, he wasn't just in ring shape, he wasn't just in match shape, he was in WrestleMania main event shape. Fueled by the fact that he wasn't just back but jacked, WrestleMania 28 was the highest grossing wrestling pay-per-view in history, and 29 the top earning live event under the WWE banner. Without this constant conditioning, he'd likely have been a mid-card novelty attraction given a safe 10 minutes to avoid showing his obvious physical decline. Number 2, what if he couldn't act? Yeah, real simple this one. If The Rock had gone to Hollywood and failed, the movie industry wouldn't have had a ready-made superhero to call upon when they need to save a franchise. Thus, while all his very typical big man solves problem films still would have been made with some other meathead in the role, the Fast and Furious franchise would have died a death after 2009's hopeless Fast and Furious 4. That, and Vince wouldn't have been so convinced that wrestlers just had some natural ability to crack cinema and pumped millions of dollars into WWE studios. So if there's no Rock, then there's no Marine for Cena, no Chaperone for Triple H, and no Leprechaun Origins for Hornswoggle. Number 1, what if he'd never come back to wrestling? Okay, here is the biggie. What if when The Rock left WWE, he had done so for good. Was coming back to work Cena then immediately rehashing the once-in-a-lifetime shtick the right call? Well, for him and the company, yes. As purely a business decision, it is probably an unparalleled success for both him and WWE. It broke records, it sold out stadiums, and if anything, helped elevate his film career by proving he was still a big deal. But for wrestling in general, maybe not. If The Rock had stayed away, then it's very likely CM Punk would still be in WWE, or at the very least, hung around a lot longer. His list of gripes with the company was long, but his main one was getting shunted down the card and missing his chance to main event WrestleMania. Despite getting on well with The Rock, he really wasn't keen on part-timers getting the rub over guys who were busting their ass all year. Once he realized he would never be treated with the same level of respect as The Rock, it was only a matter of time before he walked. So there you have it, those are the 10 biggest what-if moments in The Rock's entire career. Thankfully I didn't include number 11 of, what if me and him weren't best pals? Let me know what you made of it in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. In the meantime though, thank you so much for watching. I've of course been Adam Cleary, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.